As I've told you before, anybody claiming that it's obvious that either Donald Trump or Joe Biden will clearly, easily win the presidential election in November, they're not telling you a story based in fact. Online echo chambers are everywhere and we're susceptible to them. And over the next couple of days, I will first make the strongest possible case that Donald Trump is obviously going to win. Tomorrow, that Joe Biden is obviously going to win. And the point here is to understand that depending on which echo chamber you're a part of or what you want to believe, you can make a seemingly ironclad case that November's outcome is obvious, when in reality, this election is going to be close. So this is a thought experiment. It will almost certainly come down to about 250,000 or so votes in 3 to 5 states. It truly could go either way. What is true is that the 2024 election is unprecedented. The presumptive Republican nominee, Donald Trump, is a former president, lost re-election once already, was indicted 4 times since leaving office, has been found guilty of 34 felonies where he is pending sentencing, while heading towards a rematch against the man who defeated him almost 4 years ago, the current president, Joe Biden. But it would be a mistake to assume that the outcome of the 2024 race will be decided by Trump's criminal trials. The trials will be a factor. The post-conviction polling doesn't look great for Trump, but most people are not following the nitty-gritty as closely as we are. Some people don't care that Trump is on trial. Others could be pushed more strongly towards Trump. So today, I'm going to make the strongest possible case for Donald Trump, and tomorrow I will do so for Joe Biden. So let's start with the polling. According to both 538 and Real Clear Politics polling average, Trump is leading. According to the New York Times, Trump is leading in 5 critical swing states: Pennsylvania by 3, Arizona by 7, Michigan by 7, Georgia by 10, Nevada by 12. Joe Biden won all 5 of those states in the 2020 election. Don't forget the Electoral College. In 2020, Joe Biden won the popular vote by 4%, but he nearly lost the election electorally anyway. Biden's most recent State of the Union address was strong, but his approval rating has actually declined since then by a point. And despite nonstop legal turmoil, Trump still has a higher approval rating than Joe Biden. Hillary Clinton, one of the weakest and most disliked candidates in modern American political history, had a higher approval rating in May of 2016 than Biden currently has, the number from the end of May 2024. These are not numbers that look good for Joe Biden on polling. Then we go to the economy. What about the economy? It's pretty good. It is true that presidents tend to get reelected when the economy is good. But the problem is that half of the country currently believes we are in a recession. It's not true by any metrics, but that is a disaster for President Joe Biden if it is what half the country believes to be true. Most Americans say the economy and inflation are the most important issues determining who they will support for president in November. And according to an Ipsos poll, the average American voter prefers Trump over Biden on the economy by a 14-point margin. Now, it's also true that while we aren't in a recession, the economy is not perfect by any means. Much of the country is right to be dissatisfied with Bidenomics. Per USA Today, nearly 70% of Americans said the economy is getting worse, according to the poll, while only 22% said the economy is improving. 84% of Americans said their cost of living is rising, and nearly half of Americans, 49%, blamed food and grocery prices as the main driver. Top line macroeconomic indicators just don't tell the full story of what Americans experience daily. And we've talked about this before. There's a legitimacy to just what do eggs cost in my local community. Housing costs are up. Almost half of all renters spend more than 30% of their income on rent. Now, Joe Biden isn't personally responsible for every economic woe that Americans face. Many of these are systemic problems that go back decades. But Biden is the president. And elections, to a degree at least, are referenda on the national economy. Biden insisting that the economy is great, while statistically accurate, could be perceived by many Americans as being told you're too dumb to understand your own dire economic situation. And this could make the MAGA message more appealing. What about foreign policy? Although Trump's militarism is worse than Biden's, Trump has remained relatively quiet on Israel-Gaza, save some outrageous comment here or there, because he notices it's very damaging to Biden, what's going on. This may prove smart for Trump. Despite supporting human rights abusers around the world and being enamored with dictators, expanding the military budget, sabotaging the Iran deal, Trump is nonetheless perceived as, quote, anti-war compared to Biden by some people, even though he has said, oh, Israel, you've got to finish your war, finish it, seemingly saying he doesn't care what Israel does to the Palestinians. The point here is Trump seems to get that most Americans are sick of expensive wars, especially ones that they don't understand or perceive to be unjust. And he will probably attack Biden for this the same way he attacked Hillary, because running against an unpopular war or military engagement is an effective thing to do politically. Now, there are pundits who minimize the significance of the recent protesters, for example, by suggesting that Biden's foreign policy ranks quite low among voter concerns. And that's true to a great degree. A frequently cited poll, the Harvard Youth Poll, shows Israel-Palestine is 15th out of 16 issues. Inflation, healthcare, and housing are the top three. However, the same poll also does show that Israel-Palestine is, quote, a priority for 37% of likely Democratic voters. So when you put it that way, it is more significant than simply it ranks at the bottom. There are people who care about it. This is, of course, just one poll. We do have other metrics that we can look at. According to the New York Times, 13% of voters in swing states who voted Biden in 2020 say they will not vote for Biden this time, specifically because of Gaza. So the question is, even if it is not a high priority for a significant number of voters, when it's expected to be this close, how many votes can Joe Biden afford to lose over this issue when we expect this electoral race to come down to, 250,000, maybe 500,000 votes in 3 to 5 states? So let's not underestimate the political instincts of Donald Trump. Does Trump care about Gaza? No. Is he actually anti-war? No. Trump is a sociopath who will say anything to gain power, but he sees how to cynically try to take advantage of the discontent that exists with Joe Biden. So what about Biden as a candidate? Donald Trump has a clear message that inspires voters. MAGA, Agenda 47, Project 2025, it's all horrible, dangerous, authoritarian stuff. But to his base, it's persuasive, and they think of it as a policy agenda. According to a Pew Research poll from 2020, 56% of Americans who voted for Joe Biden voted for him because he is not Trump. That worked in 2020. But are we confident that not Trump will work again? According to a Wall Street Journal poll, 40% of registered voters say Biden has a, quote, strong record of policy achievements, while 51% believe Trump has a strong record of policy achievements. Insane. But if they believe it, that's what matters. Hilariously, despite shuttling between criminal trials and bizarre fundraisers at Mar-a-Lago, Trump is more active on the campaign trail, doing more interviews and rallies than Joe Biden over recent months. So here's the bottom line. Trump could win, and I've laid out a case for how one could argue Trump has the advantage here. 2024 could look a lot more like 2016 than 2020. In 2008, and to a lesser degree in 2012, Barack Obama won because he excited people. In 2016, Trump won because he used pseudo-populist rhetoric that excited enough blue-collar workers in swing states that Hillary Clinton didn't pay enough attention to in those final months before the election. In 2020, People hated Trump due to his mismanagement of COVID and the global shame that he brought upon the United States, and they were excited to vote him out. But now Joe Biden is the incumbent. He faces some of the lowest approval ratings of his presidential tenure. He's currently losing 5 swing states. He's angered a slice of the left over his handling of the Israeli-Gaza conflict. So Trump can absolutely win this thing. And this is the strongest case possible to make for Trump's inevitability in November. There is another case to be made. That's the case for President Joe Biden's reelection. Remember, what we're doing is these are theoretical cases. I am steelmanning Trump and then Biden's paths to the White House. Tomorrow, we are going to make just as strong a case that it is Joe Biden who has the clear and most direct, unobstructed path to victory. We will then evaluate which one rings the truest. And the whole point here is anyone who thinks either candidate has this in the bag is making a very risky conclusion, because it will almost certainly be unpredictably close, 250,000 to 500,000 votes in 3 to 5 states. So we've made the case for Trump. We'll take a quick break. Tomorrow, I will make the case for Biden's path to victory.